everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Guiding Light podcast. I'm your host, Sierra Larson, and we are here with actually my co-host, Jenna Carson.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
excited to be here.
Yes. So it's a little bit different. Like this episode's a little bit different because Jenna is my co-host, but today I am interviewing her, and this episode is all about her. So you guys can get to know her and love her because she's amazing. I am thrilled and so excited to introduce her to you guys or to y'all and to be able to just share with you guys my friend. Like she's amazing. I'm so excited. So yeah. How's it going today?
Great. I'm just so happy to be doing this podcast with you, Sierra.
I know, I'm so excited. Okay. Well, this is the Guiding Light podcast where we help women and guide them on their journeys through life. So we are so excited to be joined here today with my co-host, but also the person I'm interviewing, our guest, Jenna. So, Jenna, let's just start with your background. Like, just tell us where you're from. I want to know literally everything, but we don't have enough time to go too far. We'll still be able to get to know you throughout the podcast, but let's just start with where you're from.
Well, I was born in Michigan. My childhood was mostly in Kentucky, and then my teenage years were in Idaho. I went to college in Utah. I went to grad school in Massachusetts,
Harvard.
and then I've lived in Pennsylvania and Florida. I've really gotten around. So I claim Idaho, but I was only actually there for 6 years. So I don't really know what to claim as home. But I currently live in Mississippi.
Okay, awesome. And your family, were they military too, or you
A
just moved?
little. My dad, when I was younger, so my dad was in the army for a few years when I was a little girl. So I didn't include those places, but his military service took us to several different places, including Germany, but I don't remember. But then he got out of the military and we eventually landed in Kentucky when I think I was 6 when we moved to Kentucky.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay, awesome.
yeah.
So we did a brief intro on
Mm.
you in episode 1. Can you just tell us, do the kind of the brief intro again, and then we'll go more of a deep dive this episode.
Perfect. So I am an active duty Air Force chaplain, and of course,
Uh,
anything I say today does not represent the opinions of the United States government, the Air Force, any government institution, or any church. These opinions and thoughts are my own. So yeah, currently serving as a chaplain in the Air Force, and before that worked as a prison chaplain and a hospital chaplain, and also had the privilege of doing some work, some interim youth ministry at an Episcopalian church. That was amazing. And then I've done some chaplaincy internship at the Divinity School at Harvard. So I've been fortunate to have these formative chaplaincy experiences. And I am also a yoga therapist. I did the integrative yoga therapy program at Kripalu, which is a really beautiful yoga school in the Berkshires in Massachusetts. And I have 2 cats, 2 tabby cats, Ginger and Destiny. And I love to read and write and hike and be outside and learn. And I like museums. I like art. I like just a lot of the humanities. So that's me.
yeah, awesome. I just I just love Jenna. So let me just tell you guys, like Jenna is probably the most like humble woman ever, but she is by far the smartest woman in the room. Anytime you were in the
No,
room with
no,
her,
no, no, no.
I see, I told you she's so humble.
No,
Um,
I am not. I am not. Going to Harvard will quickly teach you that you are not the smartest person in the world.
she's well, any room that I've been in with her, she is
No.
just So brilliant. She is a wealth of knowledge. I'm so excited to be doing this podcast with her because she is just brilliant and amazing. So I would
That's
like
to
to
be too, but I'm not brilliant. I am a hard worker. I am a hard worker, and I'm passionate about what I do. So
yeah, that's okay. We're gonna work on just claiming it. We're gonna own it. We're gonna own our brilliance. It's okay. We'll work on it. It's okay.
okay, okay.
So I do want it to talk about like you've just had such an incredible journey. I don't even think you just did your whole bio. I don't even think you mentioned the book. You
Oh,
did
I
that in the
did.
first episode. So we'll get back to that. So stay tuned for that. But you just had such an incredible journey. Can you tell us a little bit more about what led you to chaplaincy, like that journey that took you there, and how chaplaincy is just what it's done for you and how you've grown in that?
Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying what a chaplain is because I know I didn't know what a chaplain is until I started grad school. So, a chaplain is a spiritual counselor and provider of spiritual and or religious rites or worship services, weddings, funerals. Chaplains do a lot of spiritual counseling. So we are often there during people's hardest moments, providing support. We do what we call bearing witness. We bear witness to people's pain, their suffering, their joy. We work to help people reconnect with sources of meaning in their life. So a lot of times when I'm doing counseling sessions, I'm trying to ask questions that provide the person the chance to like reflect on what brings them meaning, purpose, and peace in their life. And sometimes that's through religion, sometimes that's through spiritual practices, sometimes that's through other things. And I just love being able to be in those spaces. And so I learned about this amazing career when I went to graduate school at Harvard Divinity. And I just thought, oh, this is for me. And I had felt drawn to be a military chaplain, which was very surprising to me because I never wanted to join the military, even though my dad had, oh, this is my cat, Destiny. Destiny. Uh, she's a feisty one. I really love her.
Oh,
So
hey.
anyway, um, yeah, I love cats. I love animals in general. But anyway, so I felt like God was calling me. And when I say calling me, I believe that like you sometimes in life feel pulled to do something,
Mhm.
drawn to it. You feel a spiritual inclination. And I just felt that with chaplaincy, but my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, had never endorsed a woman to be a military chaplain because in our church, men are ordained to priesthood office and women are not. And so this policy, this tradition had been to not endorse women. And I needed endorsement. I needed that as the first step. You can't even apply to be a military chaplain without endorsement from your ecclesiastical institution. And so it was a long road, really a 6-year journey of asking and being told no, and then asking again, and along that path, I was fortunate to have other formative experiences. So I truly believe that I was I was blessed to have detours of hospital chaplaincy and prison chaplaincy because I learned so much.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I don't even see those as detours. I see those as like formative in my spiritual experience and truly have prepared me for military chaplaincy. So, yeah, I feel so gifted with these experiences.
Yeah,
And I'm always
definitely.
learning. There's always more to learn about chaplaincy, and you have to really take care of yourself to do the work. And so I'm also constantly relearning how to take care of myself because I push myself really hard in life. It's just my personality. I push, I push, I push, and I'm trying to find like some softness and that's where yoga therapy has transformed my life. Studying yoga therapy has given me tools that allow me to know they've taught me how to take care of myself. And I love teaching them to others because I think a lot of driven women, we're all having the feeling of there's not enough time, and I have all
Yes.
these things I'm going to achieve. I have all these ideas. I'm so creative. I have all these dreams, and the tools of yoga therapy help me get back in my body in the present moment and finding gratitude now.
Awesome. Yeah. So I want to go back
Yeah.
just a little bit. I do want to get into the yoga therapy because that's
Yeah.
amazing. I have so many questions. But going back, I just kind of want to share with our listeners a little bit about what Jenna really did and how um what's the word? Like she's just truly a pioneer. And again, Jenna is humble, so I'm going to take the time to just tell you guys how incredible what she did with our faith tradition. So with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, um there was, this policy in place, and Jenna really was just this strong, relentless, tenacious force and other women as well that helped women to become chaplains in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it's interesting because we've talked and we've compared our stories, and the policy changed literally 2 months before I decided to do it. And I always say, like, Jenna paved the road and I just skipped along down after. Like Jenna was just like, just a road paver. I don't know what that, and it's so incredible. And I remember we were at In and Out in Utah during conference week. We were at In and Out and we're just eating and we're in uniform because we're at this chaplain conference. And this couple comes up to us and they're like, "Oh, what do you do in the military?" And just like, "Oh, I'm a chaplain." And they go, "Oh, my granddaughter wants to do that." And I look at Jenna, I'm like, "Do you know that, like, her granddaughter gets to do that because of you, like, because you were called and led to this, and you were, your tenacious, relentless, self, and pushed and knew that that's what needed to happen. You were able to pave the way for, like, generations, not just us, but, like, generations of these strong women that are gonna get to be able to serve the Lord as chaplains too. So we are all just so grateful for that. And yeah, so I just wanted to take the time to really explain because she said it, but like y'all, or like it is incredible what she's done. So
Well, thank you so much, Sierra. And I have to say, like, truly, Dawn Dimmick and Dawn is
mm,
an incredible Army chaplain. I love her work. She talks about how, as women, we're always building upon those who went before us. And I'm so grateful for Dawn. She is also a member of our faith. And she also started pushing. She's a few years younger than me, and so she didn't start pushing until it was shortly after I started pushing.
mhm,
And so she also was in it. We didn't know about each other, but I want to thank her for her work.
mhm,
And also, I know there were some men allies we had at church headquarters who were also talking about it. And then, of course, the incredible Tammy Harris. I mean, this woman, she is like, I say that she is the spiritual mother of Latter-day
yes,
Saint chaplains. She was doing it decades ago without, she just did it. And then people learned she was doing it. She was doing it in hospital settings, I believe, but also other settings. She did work with youth, and I want to say she was involved in ministry. Her father was a prison chaplain, so Tammy did a lot, and I'm grateful for her, and just humbly acknowledge that, like, yeah, I definitely had a fight. Those 6 years were not easy for me, and I was pushing, and I do feel God guided me. I do know this was a life mission of mine. And I just want to say thank you so much to all the other women who were working as well, and also you, Sierra. Like you said things to me that helped me. I think it was last year you said to me, Jenna, like, you were supposed to do this. Like, you were like foreordained to do this. The rest of us were too obedient. That just made me
me.
laugh so hard. It's like, because like I think and that got me thinking, like, yeah, I felt like disobedient, like, because being in this very and I love my church. It's also very patriarchal, and I was socialized in this church to stay in the lines and not ask for more. And so there were a lot of times where I worried, like, am I wanting too much? Am I asking too much? Is this wrong? And God just kept saying, no, this is right. But in the moment, it didn't feel that way. It didn't feel like, oh, this is a great thing. There was so much uncertainty, so much self-doubt. And like I say, some dark nights of the soul. And I went through a divorce during that period that wasn't related to my chaplaincy work at all, but just a lot of, feelings like, what am I doing with my life? And yeah, so it was hard.
Yeah.
Thanks for acknowledging that, Sierra.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because I think that needs to be celebrated. I'm so grateful that you mentioned, Tammy and Dawn and Sony and like all of these women that have just been such incredible examples. And we actually should have them on the show. Let's have them
Yes,
on the show.
we should definitely have them on the show.
They should be listening. If you guys are listening, you're getting a phone call.
Yeah, yeah.
If y'all ladies are listening, you're getting a phone call. So no worries. Um, I love when we talk because we just like get
No.
into it. I love it. So I will say, well, when we talk about an interview, so my journey is a lot different than yours because you, I think, very much were called to push that, whereas I had probably been pushing too much throughout my life, and the Lord was like, just wait, Jenna will do it. You just be obedient, and I was like, okay. So I feel like it was just like a shift for both of us.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because like what is it? How do we define obedience?
Yeah.
I think like I want to be obedient to God.
Hmm.
Um, and now my loyalty to God is so strong because I used to have my priorities mixed up. It used to be loyalty to church institution.
Hmm.
And now the loyalty is to God. And again, I'm committed to church. I just see so many flaws. Like, all of us, right? We're flawed humans. So I don't say that in a negative way.
Yeah.
Just I'm more because of this experience with policy. I realize that a lot of it is people trying to do their best, right?
Hmm.
And so I just think that yeah, I'm much more likely now to speak up and speak out, and I bring concerns to my bishop and my stake president pretty frankly, and we have such great relationships. I'm just realizing like it's not disobedient for women to speak up. In fact, we need to speak up. We need to ask. And I hope that I can empower women to do those things.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get into like, and you guys can compare Jenna and my stories, because I think mine's a little bit different and people will understand when we switch. But I love that your side is a side of empowerment and just like, yeah, like, but it was spirit led, it was
Yeah.
led
Yeah.
by the spirit and bold. And you did have to overcome a lot,
Mhm.
and you were able to have that reassurance that, you know, you were doing the work that the Lord was leading you to do, and it was something that you were called to. And being able to have that confidence in being guided by the Spirit, I think is just such a beautiful example of the ways in which we as women can be guided by the Spirit and act.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Switching gears a little bit, tell us more about yoga therapy. What is yoga therapy versus just somebody going to do yoga?
Yeah, so yoga therapy seeks to see the whole person, mind, body, spirit, and empower the individual with tools to have alignment. And this is really deeply spiritual in my experience with my clients. This is an opportunity to find presence in the body, listen to what the body needs, and let the body be the teacher and bring the body into states of relaxation so that you can get into a meditative state. And so there's a lot of different definitions of yoga therapy, but it's basically using these incredible tools that we've inherited through the rich, rich practice of yoga that's been passed on for thousands of years. We're so fortunate to have these practices, and so it's really catering those to the holistic needs of the client. And so I had a session this morning and was working with a woman who's been through betrayal and divorce. And we were working on some boundary setting, some discernment and focus in her life, some healing of grief, heart healing. And so those themes really guided our practice. And so as a yoga therapist, I started with her biggest pain point, which is the betrayal and grief, and provided tools to address that, including specific meditations, including mantra, which is basically positive affirmations, and different yoga poses to help calm her mind, which is very active. And so before each session, I do an intake, and then I cater the practice to the needs.
Oh, wow. That's so similar to kind of mental health therapy. Like
Right,
this that's
right.
very, very similar. I love that. And
Yeah,
like as a trauma therapist, I work with people that have experienced a lot of trauma, and a lot of that is held in the body
yes.
and manifests in very somatic symptoms and corporally, just different um physical ailments and things that they're having based off of traumatic experiences that they've had. Um, how have you seen this practice kind of alleviate a lot of that corporal trauma that people might be like holding on to?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, after sessions, you see the difference in the body. So usually when we start a session, if people are very anxious, you see it in the body language, in the movement, in the pacing of speech. For depression, you see the opposite, kind of a slumping, slowness. So I'll see those different challenges people come in with, and by the end of the session there's like more balance, like it's come back to center, grounded in the self, so you can tell by the way people are relaxed. So that's like easy to see in one session, but long-term work, I think the most beautiful story I had was working with a woman who suffers with an eating disorder and exercise disorder. And so she was seeing a mental health therapist, she was seeing a dietitian, and she was seeing me, a yoga therapist. And um, we were very intentional about her treatment plan. And she had not had her period for years because of her challenges with her eating and exercise. And so we were able to actually help her body get to a state where she got her period again.
Wow.
She was able to get pregnant, which was her goal. And so she now has a healthy child, and that's just beautiful to me to
Mm,
see what long-term therapeutic work can do to help people.
absolutely. That's amazing. I love
Yeah.
that. I love it. Um, okay, so we have a few minutes left. I want to talk about the book. But before we do that, I know I've been keeping you guys in suspense. We just need to say a quick thank you to our sponsor, Headway. So, if you are a mental health therapist looking to streamline your practice and reach more clients, and you're just starting out or have an established practice, finding the right tools to manage your work can be challenging. That's where Headway comes in. Headway is a platform designed specifically for therapists, making it easier than ever to connect with clients, manage appointments, and handle billing, all in one place.
With Headway, you can focus more on what matters most, providing quality care to your clients. It's simple to use and it's tailored to meet the unique needs of mental health professionals. Plus, Headway helps you get paid faster and ensures you're never bogged down with administrative tasks.
And the best part, Headway connects you with new clients, expanding your reach without the need for constant marketing efforts. So whether you're a therapist, psychologist, or counselor, Headway has you covered.
If you're ready to simplify your practice and grow your client base, click the link in the show notes today to get a $100 sign on bonus.
Okay, we're back. So the book.
The book.
Tell us about the book. Like you wrote a whole
I
book.
wrote a whole book. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's not available yet.
Mhm.
And it honestly, it probably won't be available until spring 2026 because publishing takes a long time. But I have finished the book. It is with a literary agent, and now the literary agent's job is to sell it to a publishing house. And so yeah, I'll keep you posted, but I will say that writing that book, it took my heart, my soul, my everything. And I have never had, besides chaplaincy, like working toward endorsement, which took years, I hadn't had a task that had taken so long. It took about 3 years. And that's because I was working full time the whole time that I was writing it. And it's long. It's like 95,000 words. It's a memoir about my work in the prison chaplains in as a prison chaplain. So yeah, I'm just proud that it's done. And it's kind of one of those things like when you're making something eventually you get to this point where like you just need it to be finished and then you kind of let go of the outcome. So I have these moments where I'm like freaking out about the outcome. Like, is it going to work out okay? Is it going to get picked up by a publisher? Is it going to be well received? And then other days I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. It's just done. Like I just needed to do it and it's done. So yay.
Yeah, awesome. Who would you say this book is for?
Yeah, so I would say the target audience is secular and spiritual women interested in social justice
Mm.
and women who work in male-dominated spaces and lovers of memoir and probably also people who are just interested in prison literature. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I think it's just going to be amazing and just such a good perspective. I think it's just going to be such a good, like, inside perspective on things that we might not have enough awareness about, and something that can help really open our eyes to what things might be in reality in that space versus what we think it is or what's been maybe dramatized or things that we've seen in media, and so I'm excited for to just see such a raw
Like
and authentic story.
yeah, and it really is raw and authentic. I did not make things up. I know this sounds awful, but sometimes people make things up in memoirs, but I did not. It's all very real as far as my perception of how things happened, and I was very careful to stay true to the reality and it's hard. I think it will be a hard read for people. It's not a happy book, but I think it's an important book and I have such a heart for incarcerated people and people who work in prisons. So I hope that my heart for the staff and the incarcerated will come out. And ultimately, I hope that it shows that like we're all flawed and we all contribute to suffering. And that's why we so need grace and
Mm.
forgiveness. So yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And I love your willingness to just tell a story the way it is. This book might not be for everyone, especially, a lot of times we're used to, I guess for lack of a better term, I don't know if I can say this corporation's name, but like kind of um uh fantasy
Mm,
fied, we know who I'm talking about, but this corporation that, tends to take a story and makes it a little bit fluffier, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And you didn't do that.
No.
No,
No.
this is
No.
real. It's intense. There's language,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Not a G-rated book. It's definitely PG-13. It's not a church book. It's not a Christian book. I mean, my loyalty to Christ and my strength from Christ is in the book, but this is really like when I wrote this, I really had a broad audience in mind. I'd say it's a spiritual book, but it's definitely not like something you would see like in a I don't know, in a religious bookstore.
Yeah.
So it's similar to Tara Westover's Educated in
Oh yeah.
style, tone, narration.
Hmm.
she and I have very different stories. There's also some striking similarities. Like we both grew up in Idaho and
Oh.
anyway, it's interesting. We share a mentor, but I don't actually know her. But when
Hmm.
people have read my book, some of them have, because they've read like the manuscript, even though it's not out yet, they've said like, oh, this reminds me of Educated. And I think the reason is because it's about a young woman navigating like impossible circumstances, and like you just see the impact of trauma, but also like the resiliency of humans. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yes, I love that. Especially, in my work with trauma too, like I am very big on you are not a victim of trauma, you are a survivor of trauma. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have experienced traumatic things, but you are survivor. And so I love the emphasis on resilience and strength and it being really strength based. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's also very weakness based. Like I think readers, I really think they'll see my weaknesses, and the weaknesses, I mean, we're all just flawed, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just humanity. So, yeah, but I was blown away by the resilience of the incarcerated people and the staff. They everyone sees so much trauma, but I just feel so grateful like to um to have been there, to have had the relationships that I had.
Awesome. We are so excited. We are on the edge of our seats. We cannot wait. And so I am so excited for that. And Lord willing, it goes by quickly and who knows, we'll have that book well before we know it. So
That would be amazing. I'll keep you posted.
definitely. Thank you so much. So that's all the time we have for today. We join us on our next episode. Go ahead and it should be available right now. So go ahead and check out our next episode. I'm in the hot seat, so I will be
I get
getting
to
an
interview.
interview. I should have thought of that first. Like, oh no, it's my turn. But I'm excited. And if you are just joining us, thank you. We love you. We are so excited to take this journey with you. And until our next episode, go ahead and subscribe and check out the next one. So I'm
And
Sierra. Oh, go ahead.
and I would say an invitation to action for this episode could be like, in what ways do you feel called to speak up in your life? We talked a little bit about how
Yeah.
I feel called to speak up. So I know each of you is doing important work. So how are you called to speak up? How are you speaking up? We'd love to hear about it. So send us your stories.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. We absolutely want to hear your stories. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sierra,
I'm Jenna.
and we hope you follow the peace today.
Bye.